Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another video. I'm Cassandra from CassandraTyndall.com, and today's topic is going to be 5 reasons that the Jupiter in Aries transit has maybe not delivered what we may have all thought and hoped that it would. So this is a question that I've been asked quite a lot in various places. So with my students, with my clients, and of course within my Golden Circle membership. So as this transit is drawing to a close, it'll only be another month and we'll be looking at Jupiter in Taurus. I wanted to reflect a little bit on this transit and maybe not provide you with answers per se, but at least look at some of the reasons why Jupiter in Aries didn't feel perhaps as exciting as we might have anticipated while Jupiter was still in Pisces and we were looking forward to that burst of enthusiasm and energy. So reason number 1 is essential dignity. So when we are looking at the basic capabilities of what a planet can offer in a sign, Jupiter has no special dignity in Aries. There's a little bit of triplicity, dignity by night, but in general, and the first 5 degrees are quite decent too, but in general, Jupiter doesn't really enjoy being in the house of Aries. There's no special advantage, or there's no special gift or talent. Like Jupiter doesn't necessarily gain anything from that position. So this isn't to say that people who have Jupiter in Aries natally have a bad Jupiter, don't think that. It's just the, I guess, archetypal qualities of Jupiter in Aries. It's a bit meh. Yes, for sure, we can kind of get that unbridled enthusiasm and, pull out those type of keywords that are associated with Jupiter in Aries. But as a passing transit, there's nothing extra special about it. So that's something to keep in mind when we just look at the basic, what can Jupiter do in a particular sign? Like, is there any extra special gift or talent in that position? And in this case, there just simply isn't. 2 is the domicile ruler. So when we are looking at any passing transit, what's going to give us, or, natal astrology too, what's going to give us more information is what is the domicile ruler doing? So in this case, Jupiter in Aries, we really want to be keeping our eye on Mars, naturally. And as we all know, Mars has been a little bit of a gong show for the bulk of the time in Aries. So Jupiter moved into Aries kind of for a brief transit in May through to October of last year, being 2022. So that transit began with Mars in Pisces. Again, we've got a similar situation where there's a little bit of triplicity dignity, but Mars doesn't bring anything extra special to us while visiting Pisces, just from a essential dignity perspective. So there's 2 levels to looking at this. Like, there's the logical side of things, which is really what we're kind of focusing on here now. So if you do, again, have Mars in Pisces, don't think it's bad, because it does definitely have a lot of benefit. But as a passing transit and how we can experience those energies collectively, Mars doesn't bring a great deal to the table whilst in Pisces. So the Jupiter in transit, the Jupiter in Aries transit began with Mars in Pisces. Then we had a window where things kind of looked a bit decent, roughly from May 25 to July 5 of last year. But that's nearly a year ago now. So when I refreshed my memory on when that actually was, I was like, wow, that was a fair while ago. Then, of course, once Mars went through Aries, it went into Taurus, which, of course, as we know, Mars is in its detriment in Taurus. So yes, there are some, beneficial qualities to that. But again, Taurus is not Mars's preferred place to be. So then, of course, August 20 to March 25, 7 months or however long it was, Jupiter was looking, well, we had a bit of a backtrack into Pisces for a little bit there, but for the bulk of Jupiter's time in Aries, it has been looking to Mars in Gemini, which again, Mars in Gemini has less essential dignity than what we've discussed thus far, plus a retrograde. So when we are looking at domicile placements, you know, each planet in a sign is looking to another planet in its sign to take its P's and Q's from, to get guidance from, to get insight on how to behave and what to do. It's really important to look at. And so throughout the, you know, the bulk of the Jupiter and Aries transit, we were looking to a dazed and confused Mars, a Mars that was overwhelmed, distracted, an influx of information. Then Mars itself had its tangles with Neptune, which, you know, just added to that dazed and confused, overwhelmed experience, which is very contradicting to what Jupiter in Aries is all about, right? It's like, yes, we get this vision or this flow of enthusiasm, and then we act on that impulse. And so Mars in Gemini, particularly the retrograde period, really knocked that back a notch. So, and then of course, Mars went into Cancer recently, you know, the end of March. So, you know, many of us were very much looking forward to Mars being in its fall just for the sheer change, excuse me, of not having it in Gemini. But then something else happened to Jupiter at that time. So before I flesh that out a little bit, Mars in Cancer squaring Jupiter in Aries, you know, via a whole sign aspect, that can still bring some, you know, dynamicness, that tension, that friction, a little bit of spark, maybe a little bit of emotionally induced reactivity, which can sometimes be what it takes to generate change, to generate action or momentum. It's like that feeling, oh, damn it, I can't stand this anymore. And yes, I might be knee-jerking, I might be reacting, but sometimes that's what gets things done. Sometimes that logical reason, trying to weigh pros and cons, you can get that sort of analysis paralysis thing. So I have done a video on Mars and Cancer and did sing its praises a little bit, but, you know, as a Cancerian myself, you know, sometimes it's when you get so emotionally sick and tired of something is when you actually decide, right, I'm out, or I'm doing this, or what have you. So sometimes that can be a little bit cut the nose off to spite its face. But on the other hand, sometimes that's what it takes to get so emotionally fed up with something. Then you do something about it, right? It's like in sort of psychology, it's like it's not until you get so damn uncomfortable in something that you realize, you know, something has to change. I think that might be called like a rock bottom type of situation there. So anyway, a bit of a tangent. So back to Jupiter and what was happening when Mars finally was leaving Gemini to Cancer. What happened to Jupiter, you know, within days is that it went under the beams of the sun and became invisible. So just as Jupiter was about to get some tension or friction or maybe a little bit of an emotional prodding or a poking from Mars in Cancer, it hid. It went under the, you know, into the beams of the sun, where it still is at present after the cazimi of the sun, and then Jupiter will be still rising as a morning, you know, in the process of a morning star. So Jupiter is hidden. So from about March 22 through to May 2, which takes us pretty much to the tail end of this transit. So even at the present moment, Jupiter is still, you know, yes, he's in that new moon phase of the Jupiter synodic cycle, but also hidden. And when a planet, in this case Jupiter, can't be seen, then it's not it doesn't have the capacity to bring forth significations very easily. Obviously, visibility is better than invisibility for the most part, right? And so this, again, just adds to the flavor of Jupiter not producing what we may have thought or expected or hoped for during this transit. And I have Jupiter as my Time Lord at present. And yeah, I mean, I've certainly noticed those themes. But then, of course, I knew all this was happening too. So I kind of kept my expectations in check. But, you know, there is more happening in Aries, so I don't necessarily think that it's all over just yet. Number 3, why I think that Jupiter in Aries may not have brought what we hoped it would bring, is that it's been a patchy transit. And I don't know if this necessarily means anything, but it's just something that I've observed. So Jupiter is a superior planet. It's one of the, well, you know, in terms of traditional astrology, it is the second slowest moving planet, changing signs approximately every 13 months. But what it's been doing since it ingressed into Pisces are these patchy transits. So we've had, I don't know, like nearly 2 years of Jupiter in and out, which is not what Jupiter would prefer to do. It wants to kind of marinate in a sign for a longer period of time, you know, approximately 13 months. And so when we think about the significations of Jupiter, some of that can be, you know, hope, temperance, balance, seeking that wisdom, opportunities, abundance. These are qualities or facets of life that we don't want to be patchy. Like if we have a vision for the future, we don't want to have it 1 minute and then be gone the next, and then sort of having to be searching for it again. Although that can also be part of the process, right? When we speak of abundance, we do generally want it to come in a way that, you know, it might be up and down, but at least trending in the right direction. When it comes to temperance and balance and some of that law and order principles, those things that we can look to as guidance, as maybe ethics and morals, of which we can, you know, be the guidepost of our lives. We do want those things to be fairly stable, right? You know, there can be a bit of flux and change within it, but those are parts of life that are kind of eternal. And when Jupiter moves through patchy territory in and out, it is offering a level of confusion to those parts of life. So that can be a little bit destabilizing, a little bit, you know, what is hope? What do I have to look forward to? You know, what is the vision for the future? And, you know, I think that's a question that, you know, quite a few of us might be asking right now. So that's, you know, I don't know if there's anything particularly astrological about that. You know, you have a planet like Jupiter that wants to move slowly, but it's behaving fractionally more like a faster moving planet because it's going in and out, in and out. So that's a little bit contra to what Jupiter wants to do. 4, the danger of comparing cycles. Now, I know this is what we all do, because to reflect on a previous cycle is 100% going to give us a baseline or insight as to what we can expect for the upcoming cycle. So you might be thinking about Jupiter and Taurus now and thinking, okay, what was on the table for me 12 years ago? And, you know, not saying that that is wrong. It most certainly is not. But I do think there's a certain, you can't always compare apples and oranges, because each transit is going to bring its own unique flavor. It's going to bring its own unique energy. And in addition to that, you bring your own unique flavor and energy too, because in the case of Jupiter, you will also be bringing an additional 12 years of life experience, age, wisdom, insight, self-awareness, all of these things. I mean, I know I'm certainly not the same person I was 12 years ago. And I'm sure you're not neither. So I think we sometimes can look to periods prior for insight or a little bit of intel, but not necessarily guideposts or benchmarks as to what to expect. So there is a little bit of a danger in relying on that too much. I mean, collectively, that's a different story. You know, history doesn't repeat, but it most certainly rhymes. I think it was Mark Twain that said that. So this time, however, with Jupiter in Aries, it's more like the beige, you know, like Chardonnay, the beige of wine, right? Garden variety, very like meh type of Jupiter in Aries transit, comparative to what the last time was. So the last time we had Uranus in Aries, we had Pluto in Capricorn, which squared. So we had that, 2011, 2012 crazy period of time where things were very volatile. Things were very, it was like having Jupiter in Aries was almost just adding fuel to the fires that were burning through those outer planet transits of Uranus and Pluto. So comparatively, we've had none of that this time around. So it has perhaps not been as electrifying, exciting, or dynamic. If you were looking at the last Jupiter in Aries transit and then sort of thinking, okay, well, all that happened then, what can happen now? In saying that, yeah, for sure, there's certainly been overlays. There has definitely been some repeats, but generally speaking, I don't think this Jupiter in Aries has delivered the level of excitement or fuel to fire than what we had last time. Number 5, and the final point is don't discount it. So despite the fact that I've said all of this, you know, Jupiter in Aries has been a bit meh, don't discount it because the nodes are to come. Next week, we're going to have an eclipse in Aries, which will introduce us to the next series of eclipses through Aries and Libra. So what I would invite you to do is just sit down and reflect on this Jupiter in Aries cycle. Look at the house that it is in for you and maybe consider the way that this part of the sky has been primed, has, opportunities have been maybe sparked or initiated, some of those Aries ideas. Aries is very new, it's very fresh, it's not seasoned yet. Okay. So, Jupiter coming through there has perhaps, tilled the soil, got the territory ready. And now the node, well, obviously the node doesn't get there till July, but we're going to have that window opened. So to use the analogy of, the seed germinating, it's almost like Jupiter in Aries planted a seed in your Aries house. This eclipse is going to be, wow, something that I didn't expect to germinate is coming up out of the ground or out of your little, seedling cell. Obviously, I do a bit of gardening using all of these analogies. And, I have some examples of that as well. I bought a plant of poppies, like a seedling mix of poppies. I sowed them, and then we had this onslaught of hot weather, which is not out of season for us. It should be like less than 27 degrees by now, but they're going strong, okay, despite the fact that it's not their ideal climate. And so that is very much Jupiter in Aries too. It's still going strong despite the fact that it's not its ideal climate. The eclipse will backlight this. It will show this new beginning, this new opening, this new portal of potential that will open. It may be the fact that you just can't see it yet. And then, of course, this will happen. Then we'll have that energy. This is not an eclipse video, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but that energy will then move into where Jupiter is about to go, into Taurus. Okay. And then by about May 2, as I already mentioned, we will be sort of, moving into the next eclipse in Scorpio, and then Jupiter will become visible. So I feel like we're on that cusp. Oh, I don't like using that word because people think of it, as literal cusp, but we're on that transition phase of things really starting to light up and to peak. Having eclipses in those cardinal signs are going to reverberate the energy of what we had, what we've been having with Jupiter in Aries. So I do think there's going to be definitely amplification, exaggeration, and a fast forwarding of those Jupiter significations, which really haven't had much of an opportunity to deliver that as yet. So as far as your Aries house is concerned, I guess my point is it's not over yet. Okay. So just because you might be thinking, oh, Jupiter in Aries hasn't been all that, there is a continuation of theme moving forward. Jupiter tends to exaggerate and amplify, as does the North Node. So that's something to keep in mind too. So the opportunities that may have seemed like they're just on a simmer or that kind of rolling boil, that dial is going to get turned right up. So I hope that's helped you, some food for thought in terms of what this transit's been all about. If you've been feeling a little bit like, oh, this hasn't been what I hoped it would be, there is more to come, okay? And this is what is really important, to not always take our transits in isolation. We sort of do that, but they are all part of a bigger picture or a bigger mandala that's in play right now. So before I say goodbye, I am going to be opening enrollment for my next intake of the Contemporary Astrology program. It's going to be beginning in June. So if you're wanting to learn more about astrology, maybe you've been watching videos or taking little classes here and there, but you want something more structured, a lot more guidance and support, not just the tech, but also how to use it, which is really what I guess, pride myself on, is so much, group work, live videos, and a lot of kind of conversations and Q&A in how to actually use the astrology for real life, to help yourselves, to help clients, and, wherever you want to take the knowledge. So I'll have more information about that coming up. The enrollment page will be open on my website. And just, I'm sure there's probably a lot of you out there that go, oh, I'd love to do that, but, the state of everything. What some people I don't think are, apart from my accent, I'm obviously Australian, but if you're in the USA, the exchange rate is totally on your side. So everything on my website is in AUD. So I just wanted to give you that heads up, because it is a question I get a lot, like, is my website in Australian dollars? So I think it's like 67 cents to the dollar. So for every Australian dollar, you only pay 67 cents at this point in time. So it comes at a massive discount to you. So I just wanted to let you know that, because I realize that a lot of people don't factor that part in. So anyway, there's a bit of Jupiter abundance for you there. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd love to hear your experiences about Jupiter in Aries. What did it bring? What did it not bring? What house is it for you? And what are you looking forward, as we move forward into eclipses in that same sign? So that's all for today. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video.